I had originally wanted to do a critique on the entire 52-minute video that Hopeless Peaches released on December 8th, but the hotbox already beat me to it and took almost all of the words out of my mouth, so please go check his video. It will be linked in the description. And tell him I said
Sorry.
I know there are countless other videos on this whole situation with YouTuber and art commentator Hopeless Peaches, and while I haven't seen them all, I'm sure they echo the same thing. And while I doubt she'll watch this, or probably not even listen to half of what we're all saying, what's one more voice to try and break through her bubble? So to give a bit of background, Hopeless Peaches has essentially gotten herself into some smoke recently due to lack of restraint and self-control during the Toby drama, in which she self-inserted like a really bad fanfic and refused to acknowledge her own faults when people called her out on it. Now at this point, there has been a lot of creators, i.e. Creepshow Art, Kai Weiss, Omnia, Prismate Luke, Avrona, and Camila Cuevas, who has come out with their own stories about their experiences with Peaches. If I missed anyone, please comment whoever else was affected by her to spread awareness and to also support those affected. I'm genuinely making her sound like a hurricane right now. So the way I'm going to do this is like a critique sandwich. I learned this from my art college professor, I hope you're doing well, Miss Souza, where I will say what was good first, then the meat of the sandwich will be what needs to be improved on, then the other piece of bread will be more good and niceness and reinforcing that overall, you're fine. So starting off this critique sandwich, we have our bread. Now, I'm not sure what your personal preference is, but I'll use honey wheat because personally it's one of my favorites, so we're gonna go with that for right now. Your art is really good. It makes me kind of jelly, and you have a lot of potential. Sorry that this bread is kind of thin. And now we get to the meat.
Onto the meat.
Or protein, for those who don't eat meat, of said sandwich. First off, the fact that there are so many people who are coming out and addressing their bad experiences with you, not to mention that they're all saying damn near the same thing about you, shows a pattern of behavior that you refuse to acknowledge, which is worrisome, which most of their critiques boil down to: 1. Stop putting words into people's mouth and twisting said words to fit your victim narrative. 2. Stop lying and making accusations with no proof. 3. Please take time away from the internet. 4. Stop using mental health as a shield. 5. Take responsibility for your actions and improve your self-awareness. And 6. Don't dismiss valid criticism as hate. Secondly, I'm going to go in depth on a few of these because I somehow feel that while these are quite simplified, the reasons why these points are so important should be thoroughly pounded into your fruity head so you never forget them. In your video, you stated that there were racist accusations made against you and you provided no proof, so I was feeling as though you were pulling this out of thin air. Like anyone else can rightfully assume that it didn't happen. Sorry, I gotta see it to believe it, hun. Also in your video, which I somewhat feel was clickbait because you spent over half of it talking about someone that wasn't even in the title, so I feel slightly robbed, but I digress. You were going on about a statement Luke made, which was saying that her vague tweets or other posts about how she's going to leave or saying goodbye, which subtly hinted it is sympathy baiting, which it is, and I want to talk about this for a sec because I personally have a huge gripe with this. To say that Luke and others have an issue with you putting up posts like this, are upset because you didn't go through with it, with the assumed action, is disgusting, and is also quite dismissive of a larger issue at hand with stuff like this. First off, saying that stuff, especially to a large audience of mainly young viewers, can be quite damaging. Aside from that, it is and can be used as a form of mental abuse. How? Because to the people who would think that this is their fault would feel overwhelmingly guilty assuming they were part of the reason of you taking your own life. Not only that, but countless of her young fans would feel helpless thinking that they couldn't do or say anything to help her out of her time in need and dark thoughts and feelings. I'm also saying this from personal experience. Having been in a fairly toxic relationship where my significant other at the time threatened to commit after a very heated argument after a bunch of shit that shouldn't have happened, it's kind of stupid and it's very hurtful. As important as that person was and still kind of is today telling me something like that, it's very painful to hear is you end up going through these mental gymnastics trying to figure out what would make them do that if they actually mean it, and how unbelievably hollow and hurt you feel to lose someone this important to you. Now, onto some of her other issues, like not taking time away from the internet. As someone who hasn't truly indulged in all of these social medias and knowing how toxic it can get, especially for people with anxiety, social media can feel like a battlefield. So why put yourself in a war you're clearly not capable of handling? You have constantly said you take a break, and yet you refuse to take your own advice. I'll give you credit for, not being wrong in saying these things. However, as I am someone that wouldn't take my own advice from time to time, and is still somewhat working on it, at some point you have to sit back and look at the big picture. You are genuinely doing yourself a disservice by not taking time to yourself to just breathe and meditate. Sage and celebrate. This kind of ties into the issue with her using her mental health issues as a shield for proper criticism. To be 100% honest, this is quite disgraceful.
You are a disgrace!
As some people can use this poor behavior as an excuse to dismiss people with mental health issues because either A, they're faking it for attention, or B, they refuse to get proper care for whatever reason. Now, of course, I don't personally know you, but as someone who has dealt with things like depression and anxiety, a really good therapy session with a licensed professional and a blunt or two can do wonders. Can't say I'll share though, because I don't even have any for myself. I'm going to mix the last 2 points because they somewhat go hand in hand. Take some responsibility, Peaches, and use this critique along with the countless constructive others to work on some of your flaws. Improve your self-awareness to realize when you're going back into this toxic behavior and nip it in the bud before it becomes a bigger issue like now. And for the final part, the bread. We're not asking you to be perfect, Peaches. That's humanly impossible. We just want you to be better than you are now, which isn't impossible. Also, a personal suggestion, you should get rid of the hopeless in your name, as we shouldn't be trying to keep these vibes. You know what I'm saying? Something like hopeful Peaches, rosy Peaches, promising Peaches, or something entirely different, like colorful Peaches or artsy Peaches can work too, considering you're an artist. But with that being said, I know she hasn't made part 2 yet, but I hope this helps her maybe rewrite what she was originally going for and just apologize and grow. Justifying your actions don't mean much except for
stagnation.
And that's not really good. If we still have some hope for you, I'm sure you can find some for yourself. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this take. Comment what you think, leave some feedback, like, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.